Does the audio work? Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. Sounds clear? Cool. Alright, I'm just going to wait for the next 4 minutes and stare into the camera longingly. Or about 4 minutes. Because I can't see. Oop, wait 1 second. I want to be able to see this. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to look at the chat while I'm over here. The one nice thing about being the only person in the apartment is it's very quiet. Perfect atmosphere for reading. I can see the Twitch chat on the other side of the room. However, I cannot read it. It is very small. So hello. I'm just waiting for it to hit 8 o'clock, my time. I've got my broadcast up on one screen so I can see myself in real time, and the Twitch stream up on another to make sure I don't lose connection. I'm back. I'm just standing up so I can see the clock. Just passing time, because everything seemed to work. All right, my clock says 8. That means it's time to go. Thank you everyone for joining who's here so far. My name is Nick, otherwise known as RandomRanger of the 405th Infantry Division. One of the questions I get the most often is, Noble 6, what are you doing in your cave? And I can tell you what I've been doing in my cave. I've been reading The Fall of Reach. The irony is not lost on me. I'm just gonna ponder that for a moment. But I don't have too much to say. I've been looking forward to this all week. So let's just get right into it. A quick review of what happened in the previous chapter. The Spartans went through their augmentation process. Not all of them made it out. I think about 32 made it okay, and John is left at the end talking to Mendez about what he could have done better as a leader to prepare his Spartans for this challenge. When in reality, the fact of death is just part of being a soldier, and there's nothing he could have done to prevent it or prepare them for it, unfortunately. And he has to be able to process that and move on. So taking this in hand, let's jump into chapter 8. '0900, 30 hours, September 11th, 2525, military calendar, Epsilon, Iridani System, Reach, UNSC Military Complex, Planet Reach. Dr. Halsey reclined in Mendez's padded chair. She considered pilfering one of the Sweet William cigars from the box on his desk. See why he considered them such a treat. The stench wafting from the box, however, was too overwhelming. How did he stand them? The door opened and CPO Mendez halted in the doorway. "Ma'am," he said, and stood straighter. "I wasn't informed that you would be visiting today. In fact, I had understood that you were out of the system for another week. I would have made arrangements." "I'm sure you would have." She folded her hands in her lap. "Our situation has changed. Where are my Spartans? They are not in their barracks, nor on any of the ranges." Mendez hesitated. "They can no longer train here, ma'am. We had to find them other facilities." Dr. Halsey stood and smoothed the pleats on her gray skirt. "Maybe you should explain that statement, Chief." "I could," he said, "but it would be easier to show you." "Very well," Dr. Halsey said, her curiosity piqued. Mendez escorted her to his personal warthog parked outside of the office. The all-terrain combat vehicle had been refitted. The heavy chain gun on the back had been removed and replaced with a rack of Argent 5 missiles. Mendez drove them off base and off winding mountain roads. Reach was first colonized for its rich titanium deposits, Mendez told her. There are mines in these mountains thousands of meters deep. The UNSC uses them for storage. "I presume you do not have my Spartans taking inventory today, Chief." "No, ma'am. We just need the privacy." Mendez drove the warthog past a manned guardhouse and into a large tunnel that sloped steeply underground. The road wound down in a spiral, deeper into solid granite, Mendez said. "Do you remember the Navy's first experiments with the powered exoskeletons?" "I'm not sure I see the connection between this place and my Spartans and the exoskeleton projects," Dr. Halsey replied, frowning. "But I'll play along a bit further. Yes, I know all about the Mark I prototypes. We had to scrap the concept and redesign battle armor from the ground up for the Mjolnir project. The Mark I's consumed enormous energy. Either they had to be plugged into a generator or use inefficient broadcast power. Neither option is practical on a battlefield." Mendez decelerated slightly as he approached a speed bump. The Warthog's massive tires thudded over the obstacle. "They used the units that weren't scrapped," Dr. Halsey continued, "as dock loaders to move heavy equipment." She cocked one eyebrow. "Or might they have been dumped in a place like this? There are dozens of the suits here. You haven't put my Spartans in one of those antiques?" "No. Their trainers are using them for their own safety," Mendez replied. "When the Spartans recovered from microgravity therapy, they were eager to get back to their routine. However, we experienced some," he paused, searching for the right word, "difficulties." He glanced at his passenger. His face was grim. Their first day back, 3 trainers were accidentally killed during hand-to-hand combat exercises. Dr. Halsey cocked an eyebrow. "Then they are faster and stronger than we anticipated?" "That," Mendez replied, would be understating the situation." The tunnel opened into a large cavern. There were lights scattered on the walls, overhead 100 meters up on the ceiling, and along the floor, but they did little to dissipate the overwhelming darkness. Mendez parked the Warthog next to a small, prefabricated building. He jumped out and helped Dr. Halsey from the vehicle. "This way, please." He gestured to the room. "We'll have a better view from inside." The building had 3 glass walls and several monitors marked Motion, Infrared, Doppler, and Passive. Mendez pushed a button and the room climbed a track along a wall until they were 20 meters off the floor. Mendez keyed a microphone and spoke. "Lights!" Floodlights snapped on and illuminated a section of the cavern the size of a football field. In the center stood a concrete bunker. 3 men in the primitive Mark I power armor stood on top. 6 more stood evenly spaced around the perimeter. A red banner had been placed in the center of the bunker. "Capture the flag?" Dr. Halsey asked. "Past all that heavy armor?" "Yes." The trainers in those exoskeletons can run 32 kilometers per hour, lift 2 tons, and have a 30 millimeter minigun mounted on self-targeting armatures. Stun rounds, of course. They're also equipped with the latest motion sensors and IR scopes, and needless to say, their armor is impervious to standard light weapons. It would take 2 or 3 platoons of conventional Marines to take that bunker. Mendez spoke again in the microphone, and his voice echoed off the cavern walls. "Start the drill!" 60 seconds ticked by. Nothing happened. 120 seconds. "Where are my Spartans?" Dr. Halsey asked. "They're here," Mendez replied. Dr. Halsey caught a glimpse of motion in the dark, a shadow against shadows, a familiar silhouette. "Kelly?" she whispered. The trainers turned and fired at the shadow, but it moved with almost supernatural quickness. Even the self-targeting systems couldn't track it. From above, a man free-rappelled down from the girders and gantries overhead. The newcomer had landed behind one of the perimeter guards, quiet as a cat. He punched the guard's armor twice, denting the heavy plates, then dropped low and swept the target's legs out from under him. The guard sprawled on the ground. The Spartan attached his rappelling line to the trainer. A moment later, the writhing guard shot upward into the darkness. 2 other guards turned to attack. The Spartan dodged, rolled, and melted into the shadows. Dr. Halsey realized the trainer's exoskeleton wasn't being pulled up. It was being used as a counterweight. 2 more Spartans, dangling at the other end of that rope, dropped unnoticed into the center of the bunker. Dr. Halsey immediately recognized one of them, although he was dressed entirely in black, save his open eye slits. Number 117, John. John landed, braced, and kicked one guard. The man landed in a heap, 8 meters away. The other Spartan jumped off the bunker. He flipped end over end, evading the stun rounds that filled the air. He threw himself at the furthest guard, and they skidded together into the shadows. The guard's gun strobed once, and then it was dark again. On top of the bunker, John was a blur of slashing motions. The second guard's exosuit erupted into a fountain of hydraulic fluid and then collapsed under the armor's weight. The last guard on the bunker turned to fire at John. Halsey gripped the edge of the chair. "He's at point-blank range! Even stun rounds can kill at that distance!" As the guard's gun fired, John sidestepped. The stun round slashed through the air, a clean miss. John grabbed the weapon's armature, twisted, and with a screech of stressed metal, wrenched it free of the exoskeleton. He fired directly into the man's chest and sent him tumbling off into the bunker. The remaining quartet of perimeter guards turned and sprayed the area with suppression fire. A heartbeat later, the lights went out. Mendez cursed and keyed the mic. "Backups! Hit the backup lights now!" A dozen amber floods flickered to life. Not a Spartan was in sight, but 9 trainers were either unconscious or lay immobile in inert battle armor. The red flag was gone. "Show me that again," Dr. Halsey said unbelievingly. "You recorded all that, didn't you?" "Of course." Mendez tapped a button, but the monitors played back. Static. "Damn it! They got the cameras too," he muttered, impressed. "Every time we find a new place to hide them, they disable the recording devices." Dr. Halsey leaned against the glass wall, staring at the carnage below. Very well, Chief Mendez. What else do I need to know? Your Spartans can run at bursts of up to 55 kilometers per hour, he explained. Kelly can run a little faster, I think. They will only get quicker as they adjust to the alterations we've made to their bodies. They can lift 3 times their body weight, which, I might add, is almost double the norm due to their increased muscle density, and they can virtually see in the dark. Dr. Halsey pondered this new data. They should not be performing so well. There must be unexplained synergistic effects brought on by the combined modifications. What are the reaction times? Almost impossible to chart. We estimate it at 20 milliseconds, Mendez replied. He shook his head, then added, I believe it's significantly faster in combat situations, when their adrenaline is pumping. Any psychological or mental instabilities? None. They work like no team I've ever seen before. Damn near telepathic, if you ask me. They were dropped in these caves yesterday, and I don't know where they got black suits or the ropes for that maneuver, but I can guarantee you they haven't left this room. They improvise and improve and adapt. And, he added, they like it. The tougher the challenge, the harder the fight, the better their morale becomes. Dr. Halsey watched as the first trainer stirred and struggled to get out of his inert armor. They might as well have been killed, she murmured. But can the Spartans kill, Chief? Kill on purpose? Are they ready for real combat? Mendez looked away and paused before he spoke. Yes, if we ordered them to, they would kill quite efficiently. His body stiffened. May I ask what real combat you mean, ma'am? She clasped her hands together and wrung them nervously. Something has happened, Chief. Something Oni and the Admiralty never expected. The brass wants to deploy the Spartans. They want to test them in a real combat mission. They're as ready for that as I can make them, Mendez said. He narrowed his dark eyes. But this is far ahead of your schedule. What happened? I heard rumors that there was some heavy action near Harvest Colony. Your rumors are out of date, Chief, she said, and a chill crept into her voice. There's no more fighting at Harvest. There is no more Harvest. Dr. Halsey punched the descent button, and the observation room slowly lowered to the floor. Get them out of this hole, she said crisply. I want them to muster at 0400. We have a briefing at 0600 tomorrow aboard the Pioneer. We're taking them on a mission Oni has been saving for the right crew in the right time. This is it. Yes, ma'am, Mendez replied. Tomorrow, we'll see if all the pain they've been through has been worth it. And that is the end of Chapter 8. I'm going to take a small moment, catch up on the chat, and then we'll jump into Chapter 9. People want to see my feet? We don't go halfway in this house, I can tell you that. Fully suited. All the time. The suit's combat ready. Whew. Just do a little stretch. Alrighty, now that the big question has been answered, yes, I am wearing boots, let's jump into Chapter 9. I hope I'm not too far ahead of schedule. I feel like this is going a little quick, but that's alright. Chapter 9. 0600, 5 minutes. September 12th, 2525, military calendar. UNSC destroyer Pioneer en route to Eridanus system. John and the other Spartans stood at ease. The briefing room aboard the UNSC destroyer Pioneer made him feel uncomfortable. The holographic projectors at the fore end of the triangular room showed the field of stars visible off the bow of the ship. John wasn't used to seeing so much space. He kept expecting the room to decompress explosively. The stars flickered and faded and the overhead lights warmed. Chief Petty Officer Mendez and Dr. Halsey entered the room. The Spartans snapped to attention. "At ease," Mendez said. He clasped his hands behind his back and clenched his jaw muscles. The chief looked almost nervous. That made John nervous too. Dr. Halsey walked to the podium. The overhead lights reflected off her glasses. "Good morning, Spartans. I have good news for you. The word has come down. Command has decided to test your unique abilities. You have a new mission, an insurgent base in the Iridanius system." A star map appeared on the wall and zoomed in to show a warm orange sun ringed with 12 planets. In 2513, an armed insurrection in this system was suppressed by the UNSC force, Operation Trebuchet. An intersystem tactical map appeared, and tiny icons representing destroyers and carriers winked on. They engaged a force of 100 smaller ships. Pinpoints of fire appeared against the dark. The insurrection was put down, Dr. Halsey continued. However, elements of the rebel forces escaped and regrouped in the local asteroid belt. The map tilted and moved into the circle of debris around the star. "Billions of rocks," Dr. Halsey said, "where they hid from our forces, and continue to hide to this day. For some time, Oni believed that the rebels were disorganized and were lacking in leadership. That appears to have changed. We believe that one of these asteroids has been hollowed out and that a formidable base has been constructed within. UNSC explorations into the belt have met either with no contact or with ambush by superior forces." She paused, pushed up her glasses, and added, "The Office of Naval Intelligence has also confirmed that FleetCom has discovered a security breach within their organization. A rebel sympathizer leaking information to these forces." John and the other Spartans shifted uneasily. A leak? It was possible. Deja had shown them many historical battles that had been won and lost because of traitors or informants, but it never occurred to him that that could happen in the UNSC. A flat picture flashed over the star map. A middle-aged man with thinning hair, a neatly trimmed beard, and watery gray eyes. "This is their leader," Dr. Halsey said. "Colonel Robert Watts. The original photo was taken after Operation Trebuchet and has been computer-aged. Your mission is to infiltrate the rebel base, capture Watts, and return him, alive and unharmed, to UNSC-controlled space. This will deprive the rebels of their new leadership, and it will provide Oni a chance to interrogate Watts and root out traitors within FleetCom." Dr. Halsey stood aside. "Chief Mendez?" Mendez exhaled and unclasped his hands. He strode to the podium and cleared his throat. "This operation will be different from your previous missions. You will be engaging the enemy using live rounds and lethal force. They will be returning the favor. If there is any doubt, any confusion, and make no mistake, in combat, there will be confusion. Take no chances. Kill first, ask questions later. Support on this mission will be limited to the resources and firepower of this destroyer," Mendez continued. "This is to minimize the chance of a leak in the command structure." Mendez walked to the star map. The face of Colonel Watts snapped off and blueprints for a Parabola-class freighter appeared. Although we don't know the location of the rebel base, we believe they received periodic shipments from Eridanus II. The independent freighter Layden is due to leave space dock in 6 hours for a routine recertification of her engines. She is being loaded with enough food and water to supply a small city. Additionally, her captain has been identified as a rebel officer thought to have been killed during Operation Trebuchet. You will slip aboard the freighter and hopefully hitch a ride to the rebel base. Once there, infiltrate the installation, grab Watts, and get off that rock any way you can. Chief Mendez gazed at them all. Questions? Sir, John said. What are our extraction options? You have two options. A panic button that will relay a distress signal to a pre-established listening ship. Also, the Pioneer will stay on station, briefly. Our window here is 13 hours. He tapped the star map to the edge of the asteroid belt, and it glowed with a blue nav marker. I'll leave the extraction choice up to you, but let me point out that this asteroid belt has a circumference of more than 1 billion kilometers, making it impossible to canvass with only surveillance craft. If things get hot, you will be on your own. Any other questions? The Spartans sat, silent and immobile. No? Well, listen up, recruits, Mendez said. This time I've told you all the twists that I know of. Be prepared for anything. His gaze fixed on John. Squad leader, you are hereby promoted to the rank of Petty Officer 3rd Class. Sir, John snapped to attention. Assemble your team and equipment. Be ready to muster at 0300. We'll drop you off in the Eridanus 2 docks. You're on your own from there. Yes, sir, John said. Mendez saluted. He and Dr. Halsey then left the room. John turned to face his teammates. The other Spartans stood at attention. 33. Too many for this operation. He needed a small team. 5 or 6 maximum. Sam, Kelly, Linda, and Fred. Meet me in the weapons locker in 10 minutes. The other Spartans sighed, and their gaze dropped to the deck. The rest of you fall out. You'll have the more difficult part of this mission. You'll have to wait here. The weapons locker of the Pioneer had been stocked with a bewildering array of combat equipment. On a table were guns, knives, communication gear, body armor, explosives, medical packs, survival gear, portable computers, even a thruster pack for maneuvering in space. More important than the equipment, however, John assessed his team. Sam had recovered the augmentation faster than any of the other Spartans. He paced impatiently around the crates of grenades. He was the strongest of them all. He stood taller than John by a head. He had grown out of his sandy hair to 3 centimeters. Chief Mendez had warned him that he was going to look like a civilian soon. Kelly, in contrast, had taken the longest to recover. She stood in the corner with her arms crossed over her chest. John had thought she wasn't going to make it. She was still gaunt and her hair had yet to grow back. Her face, however, still had its rough, angular beauty. She scared John a little, too. She was fast before. Now no one could touch her if she didn't allow it. Fred sat cross-legged on the deck, twirling a razor-edged combat knife in glittering arcs. He always came in second in all the contests. John thought he could have come in first, but he just didn't like the attention. He was neither too short nor too tall. He wasn't overly muscular or slim. His black hair was short with streaks of silver, a feature he hadn't had before the augmentation. If anyone in the room could blend into a crowd, it would be him. Linda was the quietest member of the group. She was pale, had close-cropped red hair, and green eyes. She was a crack shot and an artist with a sniper rifle. Kelly circled the table once, and then selected a pair of grease-stained blue coveralls. Her name had been sloppily embroidered on the chest. These, our new trainee uniforms? Oni provided them, John said. They're supposed to match what the crew of the Nylund wears. Kelly held the coveralls up and frowned. They don't give a girl much to work with. Try this on for size. Linda held back a black bodysuit to Kelly's long, slender frame. They had used these black suits before. They were form-fitting, lightweight polymer body armor. They could deflect a small caliber round and had refrigerating heating units that would mask infrared signatures. The integrated helmet had encryption and communications gear, a heads-up display, and thermal and motion detectors. Sealed tight, The unit had a 15-minute reserve of oxygen to let the wearer survive in vacuum. The suits were uncomfortable, and they were tricky to repair in the field, and they always needed repairs. "They're too tight," Kelly said. "It'll limit my range of motion." "We wear them for this op," John told her. "There are too many places between here and there with nothing to breathe but vacuum. As for the rest of your equipment, take what you want, but stay light. Without recon data on this place, we're going to be moving fast, or we'll be dead." The team started selecting their weapons first. .390 caliber? Fred asked. "Yes," John replied. "Everyone take guns that uses .390 caliber ammunition so we can share clips if we have to. Except Linda." Linda gravitated to the matte black, long-barreled rifle, the S9C S2AM. The sniper rifle system had modular sections, scopes, stocks, barrels, even the firing mechanism could be swapped. She quickly stripped the rifle down and reconfigured it. She assembled a flash and sound suppression barrel, and then, to compensate for the lower muzzle velocity, she increased the ammunition caliber to .50. She ditched all of the sights and scopes and settled for an integrated link to her helmet's heads-up display. She pocketed 5 extended ammunition clips. John also chose an MA2B, a cut-down version of the standard MA5B assault rifle. It was tough and reliable, with electronic targeting and ammo supply indicator. It also had a recoil reduction system and could deliver an impressive 15 rounds per second. He picked up a knife, 20-centimeter blade, 1 serrated edge, non-reflective titanium carbide, and balanced for throwing. John grabbed the panic button, a tiny single-shot emergency beacon. It had 2 settings. The red setting alerted the Pioneer that it had hit the fan and to come in guns blazing. The green setting merely marked the location of the base for later assault by the UNSC. He took a double handful of ammo clips, then paused. He set them down and pocketed 5. If they got into a firefight where he'd need that much firepower, the mission was over anyways. Everyone took a similar equipment with few variations. Kelly selected a small computer pad with IR links. She also had their field medical kit. Fred packed a standard issue lock breaker. Linda selected 3 nav marker transmitters, each the size of a tick. The trackers could be adhered to an object and would broadcast the object's location to the other Spartan's heads-up display. Sam hefted 2 medium-sized backpacks, damage packs. They were filled with C-12, enough high explosives to blow through 3 meters of battleship armor plate. "You have enough of that stuff?" Kelly asked him wryly. "You think I should take more?" Sam replied, and smiled. "Nothing like a little fireworks to celebrate the end of a mission." "Everyone ready?" John asked. Sam's smile disappeared and he slapped an extended clip into his MA2B. "Ready!" Kelly gave him, John, a thumbs up. Fred and Linda nodded. Then, let's go to work. And that is the end of the chapter. Hope I didn't bore you guys too much. I hope you enjoyed the reading. I'm gonna move my camera over here so that I may check up on what's going on with the chat. Cool. I'll wait around for a moment, see if anyone has any final comments. Other than that, I had a lot of fun reading. One of my favorite parts of the Fall of Reach is the training combat where they take the bunker, and I'm glad I got to read that section. just Spartan sized. Alrighty. Well, if no one has any final comments, Random Ranger, out.